you're back at the lab where I just blew a whole lot of my money fixing someone else's mistake. My mistake as well, I guess. Ultimately, fuel system here in the back of the Gloria. So it was all up and running. Everything was going. The car was basically at the point where it was drivable. No park brake system, but hey, you could have gone for a thing carefully somewhere and just check things out, make sure it was all running properly. Problem was, every time I walked out into the workshop here, just absolutely stank fuel. It was like you'd poured 2 litres of gas on the floor the night before. Reason for that is it's nothing new. It's no surprise. It's not a new thing. It's been known for a long time. You don't use 100 series hoses for your fuel system in your car if you're going to run unleaded fuel. You can look at the Speedflow website, the catalogue. You can look at the Aeroflow one. You can look at the Gates. I guess there's a Gates catalogue somewhere because they make the hose. And they'll tell you, don't do it. And the reason why you don't do it is because they put all sorts of chemicals in 98 unleaded fuel. And some of those chemicals permeate through the rubber liner on the hose, which creates a bit of a smell. Now, if these hoses are outside the vehicle, it's not really a big deal. If they're only, say, -6 or -8 hoses, maybe not so much of a big deal if they're on the outside. This particular car, due to the fittings that were used on all this, might be another courier with some stuff and things for me. Hang on. What's this courier up to? He's going to the back. He's getting something. No, it's a pickup. Oh no, it's a delivery. Oh, okay. Yeah, alright. Cool. He's doing this thing. Let's ignore that. But bloody couriers are late half time. Anyway. Cool. Thank you, mate. Cheers, have a good day. Can't use 100 series. If it's small lines and it's on the outside of the vehicle, it's not a big deal. This particular vehicle, big fuel system, ridiculous actually, but looks good. So whatever, we used it because that's what's in the drift car that we pulled to pieces to build this one. -10 fuel feed, which is, yeah, anyway, and -8 return, which again, way bigger than what it needed. -6 would have done it. It's 500 horsepower at the wheels. -6 would do that absolutely fine, no problems at all. But anyway, so we got -10. And of course, you don't have to be a genius to figure it out. That bigger diameter of the fuel line gives you a larger surface area. So if you've got fuel vapors permeating through the rubber hose, the bigger the hose is, the more it's going to stink. It was basically making the workshop unusable. We had to have the doors wide open, all the doors wide open. Literally come out in the morning, open doors, piss off for 10 minutes and come back before you could do any work. So anyway, I've made the call and we are replacing those hoses because the car's just not usable like that. It may have passed cert because it's high quality hose and all that sort of stuff. Would have only passed if the certifier didn't sit in the car after it had been sat with the windows closed for a long period of time. You'd soon figure out it just stank inside. So anyway, let's have a look at what we've got in the back of the car here. I'm going to start with a couple of bits and pieces that I had. So these are 100 series hoses, 200 series hoses, which is what you should use. They have a Teflon liner inside them, and the vapors don't get through there. This is -6, that's -8, that's -10. And we're going to need some more hose. This wasn't enough hose for the job, and there's probably a couple of $1,000 worth of stuff sitting in this box, unfortunately. So what I tried to do was use, where is one? There's some tube. I tried to, that's not the right tube. It's too big. There's some tube. There's some -8 tube. I was going to bend this up and use that for the return, obviously, -8, and do the same for the main feed. as you can see, there's a bit of tube in my scrap metal bin, aluminium bin. It didn't really work out. There's 2 attempts at that, and I wasn't happy with any of them. The bends, although I'm using a proper tube bender, it leaves a little mark in the pipe where you bend it, and I just ultimately became unhappy with that. And sorry about the loud noise, just the way it fitted in the car, I just wasn't happy with it. Up here somewhere I have thrown, there it is, so there's a tube nut, socket, whatever you call it, and that's how that works. You flare the end of the tube, that fitting there goes onto the tube, that one goes onto that, and you crank that up onto your normal fittings. Would work very well if it wasn't just a little bit too bendy twisty underneath the car to do that whole thing in one piece. I did have this one here. This length is, I don't know, it's 1.5 I guess. That was kicking around from the March. I could potentially have put that just through the middle section. Look at this mess that I work in. It gets cleaned up and it gets messed up. I could have put that through the middle section, starting here and going through to there, but it's barely any point by the time you save your 78 or something dollars a metre for this hose. If you're only going to get rid of a couple of metres of it and then spend $50 or $60 on fittings on either end of your aluminium pipe, plus your aluminium pipe and the fittings on that and the different clamps, you actually don't achieve anything. You're better off just to run it in one length. So today I'm going to get on with replacing everything in the fuel system with 200 series, engine bay included. Do the whole damn lot. Problem solved. Get it right. As I say, they're kicking around in here actually. We went to use what was there because it was already there. There you go. A box. Even that stinks. Box full of 100 series hoses if anyone's interested in that. There's another one there that could probably go in that box. So that has a rubber liner inside it. Sorry if that's not focused very well. And the fuel just literally permeates the lighter components of that through that hose. It stinks out the whole workshop. Right, moving right along, we've got our 200 series fuel hoses in the engine bay here. Nice and tidy. A little bit tidier than the 100 series just because I've done something with the back here. There was a Y block attached directly to this fuel rail splittings, but I've run 2 separate fuel hoses, you can't even see them, down the firewall there, and put the Y block at the bottom, so it's just a little bit tidier. We've gone and seen our mate Adrian at Tuning and Performance. Borrowed his lovely Intercomp scales, and we're about to see how much this puppy weighs. Now, there's no spare tyre and the tow ball's sitting over there, so we'll just add 50 in the back, I guess. 50 kgs, so there we are, we're all zeroed. Handbrake isn't working yet, so I've put her in gear to stop her wandering off. And we're about to very slowly, very carefully put her on here. We've got about 30 litres of fuel in there. It's 100% on the scales now. I put the rear seats in there, not properly fitted, just sitting in there. A little bit of carpet, not much else really. Back over here, what do you reckon? I'm going to say, and this is genuine, my guess is going to be 1350 kgs. That's my guess. Oh, she's heavy. There you go. Hey, the balance front to rear is not terrible. A little bit heavier on the front, what do you expect? Add 50 into the back. And we're actually getting to be a sensibly balanced car. Let's see if I can do this with one hand without damaging anything. That can go in there. That piece of foam, that'll simulate our carpet. This is actually really, really heavy. That's really sketchy doing this with one hand. And we're going to protect that in case it decides to move. There we go. So that won't damage that at all. Let's go back and see where we're at now. 1434, wasn't it, guys? Something like that. 1448, it can't have been 1434. 14 kgs for that whole drawbar? Nah. But, so what have we got? 330 on the right rear, 320 on the left rear, 405 left front. So and 393 on the right front. So the left hand side of the car is just a tiny little bit heavier. Maybe, maybe not. Actually, sorry, no, it's not. We need to do a diagonal adjustment on the coilovers. That's not bad though. It's 1450 plus a spare tyre and whatever fuel you put in there is near enough. Very good. While I've got the scales here, let's measure this little rocket down the back here and see where we're at with that. See how much closer I've got to a 50-50 split. It was almost perfect before, and it might be now. Alrighty, and a couple of minutes spent on this one. On the scales there, any guesses? It's actually gained a little bit of weight, eh? Which has actually got a little tiny bit heavier than what it used to be, but that's okay. Still relatively well balanced. There's a bit of a difference across the front, left hand side being heavier because it's full fuel at this point, whereas the previous measure / weigh / scales was maybe 15 litres fuel, something like that, a third of a tank. So still pretty close. Let's put a fat body in there. Is that going to stay there? Yeah, that'll stay there. Let's put a fat man in there. Come for the ride. Put it in gear so it doesn't roll off the scales. That would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? Now, can you guys see it? What do we got? Left front. Really hard for you to see, but I can see it. Left front 327, right front 333. Pretty good split there. Left rear 327, right rear 350. So we just did 25 kgs heavier on that right rear, and 26 to 33, 7 kgs heavier on the right front. It's not a bad split. It's pretty good. Total across the front 326 plus 333 is 650, 660, isn't it? All up. And across the rear 327 plus 351 is 678, something like that. So it's not bad. It's not bad. We'll take it for a drive. I was going to put these PWM relays to run the fuel pumps, but apparently they're not high enough frequency to do that, so I'll figure something else out. Anyway, enough playing with this. Look at the dust on the windscreen on the poor thing. Back onto the Gloria. This is great. Just can't win with this. Brand spanking new Dash 8 hose. Leaking right in the middle. Right in the middle of the hose. And this is the only hose that I could get my hands on, the right length for the job. So I've just replumbed it all. We're dry as here. There's no issues here. It's mint, it's perfect. We're dry as here. Again, no issues. Mint, perfect. I'm pissing out in the middle of the hose. Awesome. Alright, so that was a couple of days ago. Sad face Grumpy Glen. It wasn't Dash 8 hose, it was Dash 10. So AN10 200 series hose, and apparently it looks like it's got a fault in it. It could be damage from something obscure, like it was in a box and someone put a gun stapler on the box to attach a label or something like that, or it could be a manufacturing flaw. This is quite shaky. I'm not using the gimbal. Is that better? That'll do. That's resolved. Green Lane Speed Shop, who supplied it, no issues there. Obviously, they were apologetic and offered to have a look at it. And if it's an issue with the hose, as we suspect, I don't know what, a credit or replacement or whatever. No grizzles there. It happens. Sometimes things go wrong. There's a lot of hoses gone onto this car. That's the only one that has a problem. That is the only 200 series hose that I've ever seen with a problem. And the local supplier for 200 series hose has never ever seen one go wrong. So it's just bad luck. This car is fighting pretty hard towards the end, and in fact it has been it's been fighting pretty hard a lot of the time, but that's taken care of. So what we're going to do is, I've already spoken with Green Lane Speed Shop. I've left the fittings on the end of that hose that was leaking, just out of scientific approach to seeing exactly what's gone wrong. I've left the fittings on there. I did take them off, have a look, make sure I'd done them right, put them back together, put it back in the car, and it's exactly the same. So I'm 99.9% confident there is actually a fault in that hose. You would expect it to leak near the fitting if you'd got the fittings wrong. It definitely isn't. It just almost gushes out in the center of that hose there. And in fact, just even with no pressure in the fuel system, just the gravity of the fuel in the system is enough for it to leak out. So there's some sort of stuff up there, whatever. So what we'll do is we'll put it on their test rig with my fittings on there, and we'll test it and we'll confirm that, yeah, it's leaking. And then take fittings off, have a look at them, and chop the hose a little bit shorter, like an inch or 2 inches shorter on each end, put the fittings back on and retest it, and if it's still leaking, boom, there it is. It's got to be the hose, can't be the attachment of the fittings or the way I've done it or anything like that. I used to assemble fittings out at the airport for aircraft, and they were certified for bodies and things up in the air, so it's not like I'm new to doing hoses. We didn't use 200 series, come back phone. We didn't use 200 series hose, to be fair. We used 100 series, 500 and all that sort of carry on, but experience with that. So anyway, let's see what's happened. All that is all taken care of. I think I had shown you that already. This has just been running, excuse me, bit of a frog in my throat this afternoon. This has just been running not so long ago. It's all hot, it's all up to temp, checking everything's all kosher. We've got a wheel alignment booked tomorrow morning. And I'm going to lie on the ground because I can't be bothered firing up the hoist, lifting up the hoist. There we go. I shifted a couple of our fuel fittings. So this Y block was attached to the fuel rail on the passenger side up at the top there. So I've moved it down here so it's out of the way, less weight on that fuel rail, and it's just tidier, it tucks it up out of the way where it can't be seen. Hoses running through there like that, and they go all the way to the back. Now we might have to put in the middle of your screen there where it's almost flush with the chassis rail, we may have to put a guard on that in case road debris hits that, but we'll see what the certifier thinks. It's actually it's above that, like if you bottom out on a speed bump or something like that, firstly you'll rip the exhaust out of the car before anything happens, but you can't actually catch those hoses with a larger object without catching the fuel rail, the chassis rail, brand new fancy chassis rails. Heat shield's working quite well, you can feel the heat in that, and everything on the other side's all cold. So some things have gone on that weren't on before. Boots and all that sort of carry on. Wheel alignment booked tomorrow. I need to bleed the brakes again. They feel a bit spongy. But other than that, back seat's gone in. Not mounted properly, not 100% in. And parcel trays in there as well, but it's just sitting there. Handbrake cables all hooked up and working. So we have a working handbrake now, which is good. I wasn't going to test drive it without that functioning. So that functions. I'll get on with it. There's that bloody hose. Bloody hose, you bloody thing. Leaky. Anyway, I have to cut a little notch out of the cam cover, I guess you'd call it, for clearance for our steering shaft there, which is quite close, but sufficient that if the engine mount collapses, it's going to bottom out on the subframe and stuff before it connects with that. So hopefully Certify is happy with that. Yep. Not sure if you'll want a guard on this. If someone was silly and put their finger here while it was running, they wouldn't have a finger anymore. So we'll see. There'll be an option, a couple of options actually. One of them would be to put a bracket here and extend a guard out nicely shaped over that somehow. Might have to come back big scallopy thingy like that. Put some holes in it so it looks nice, not big enough to put your finger in. That would work. That's one thing. So yeah, hopefully he's happy with that. Everything else I've put a heck of a lot of effort into it and it should be fine. Needs a check valve in our vacuum line, but we're pretty good. Yep, she's causing some trouble late in the game. I need to make the air horns work. I put them in the car, but I haven't put a power supply to them just yet. They're tucked away in there. Yes, water and dirt and dust and all that sort of carry on, but this thing's not going to get that much use. It's more show fun than it is daily driver, but we'll see. Alright, that's bloody hell, that's enough for this one. Let's move on to wheel alignment. Still looks good, eh? Like, oops, we got some speaker wires hanging down from the top there. Looks good in there now. Get on with our wheel alignment, and then we'll do our cert inspection process. We'll run through that with you, I guess. I'll have a talk with the certifier, have a talk with our VVTA, see what they reckon. Alright, cheers boy.